Let's do it again. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Central Podcast, A Little Coffee and a Whole Lot of Jesus. You know, I need a lot more Jesus than I get.
That's it. Fill her
There
up.
we go.
I need a lot more Jesus than I need my coffee. And I get a lot of coffee.
There we go.
I've already had 2 mugs this morning, and I'm thankful for those 2 mugs. But here we are today. So we are back, Pastor Michael, Pastor Nett, and to my left, Pastor Brett Jones. And man, we are so excited to have you here.
Oh, it's a privilege.
You were preaching the other night on Friday night, and you had this. You leaned over to me before. You said, "I don't know how this sermon. It's going to be a weird start."
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the most incredible beginnings. The sermon, the way it began, you immediately into this whole realm, and it was just laid out beautifully. We'll have it available to you guys to watch at some point. I'm sure it's on our website by now, but go check that out. It was beautiful. I think I joked around and said that was the worst sermon I ever heard in my life because that was powerful. Being able to sit next to somebody. You can't judge them or look at them until you sit down next to them.
You don't know what
No idea.
That was one of the worst things that happened. Sorry, I'm a history buff.
No, please.
I'm a history buff. Our first several years, 6, 7 years in Vietnam, we only had one general that ever went to a battle. So they were sitting 70 miles away.
Wow.
Calling in stuff. They never put their foot on the battlefield.
Oh, my Lord.
So Colonel Hal Moore is the first one that ever went out with the paratroopers and put his foot on the ground. He told his men, I will be the first to step off of the helicopter.
Yes.
And I will be the last to leave. And I will leave. And he's the first one that actually was on terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we did so terribly, which I don't know. There, but that's why we did so terribly for so long, because these guys are saying, yeah, it's right there in the mountains. Okay, do you know that is like a rainforest?
Yeah, what is it?
I mean, no, it's just woods. Well, it's not East Texas piney woods, and it's not North Carolina hills. We're talking about something you can't walk through, but they didn't know. They were never there. So you got to be on site for insight.
Yes,
that's a powerful statement. Wasn't that was a movie too? Was it with
We Were Soldiers?
Yes. Beautiful story. I remember seeing that now.
It's a true story about Colonel Hal Moore.
Absolutely powerful. You can't have insight till you're on site. That's power. That's truth.
I think that's so much more powerful than, when you walk a mile in their shoes. Well, walking is from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. But as you so incredibly demonstrated and illustrated with your words about sitting with them in the situation.
Right. I mean, if you just helicopter in on something, and go, hey, man, you're going to be okay. God bless you, man. It's going to be great. Woo! God's going to heal you. And you walk out, and that person's there. You don't even really know.
Right.
Because we walk in, think we're on that deal. That's not the way. That's not the way Jesus did.
No.
Jesus didn't call in spiritual airstrike.
Yeah.
Right.
He walked with the people.
Yeah.
He wept at their funeral. He celebrated at their weddings.
Yeah.
By the way, at the funerals, he never let one finish. He was
fact.
The great disruptor of
weddings, he was.
Or funerals. So, he was in with the people. He had lived. He was 30 years old before he started his ministry. He lived in a carpenter's house, so he knew how to work. He had to. He couldn't stay on his dad's payroll forever, or eating at his house forever. So we forget that humanity part. We just see him as, Jesus that ascended. But what about Jesus that was with the people in everything they went?
When you were preaching that, it really kind of brought to my mind the moments I have sat in hospital rooms, emergency rooms, and wondering, Lord, what do I say? And not even knowing what to say except just to be there.
Sometimes the best thing to say is your presence.
Yeah, right.
Just to sit there, if someone's going to come in and say bad news, I'll be there to absorb some of it with you.
Yeah.
So you won't get all of it. Just to be able to understand what the best you can where somebody's at, what they're in. I don't know if Pastor Nett, if you and I started saying, let's do something on podcast, let's talk about childbirth. Okay. You and I just have secondhand information.
Right.
She'll have the firsthand experience.
Yes.
So for me to go, let me tell you what, what?
That's it.
What? And that's what people
You
do
just breathe through it. It'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they told me. That Lamage thing.
Breathe.
Oh, man, I squeezed till
Have
my
some more
hands were
drugs,
falling off.
please.
Squeeze leg, squeeze shoulder. Like, I got to focus on this. And she was like, get away from me.
I didn't know she could squeeze that hard.
No, I think at one time she said, this is your fault. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened at some point in time in that process. You know, it's an incredible understanding who he really is. I can't wait. I know it sounds like maybe you sound a little strange, but I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to walk where he walks.
What do you think you'll do the very moment that your life turns from terrestrial to celestial?
Yeah.
What will be that moment? What have you ever planned? Okay, this is what the first thing I'm going to do. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I already know what I will do. The Bible says we will be known as we are known. So you may not have this same type body, but I'll know, hey, that's Pastor Michael.
Yeah.
I'll know who you are because the scripture says that. My brother, when he was small, a younger brother, he struggled with, am I saved? Am I saved? When he's a teenager, he had his reasons for struggling. So I made a deal with him. I said, all right, I'll make a pact with you. When whoever goes first, we don't know what it's going to look like, but when you step into heaven, at the first place that you can turn right, just turn and stand there, and I'll wait for you.
Yeah.
And whoever goes, you know where I'll be. If it's at the rapture, there's going to be a bazillion people going, but wherever that is, I'll step off to that corner, and I'm going to stand there and wait for you. And that I think we need to talk about stuff like that because that makes it real.
Yes.
As opposed to some ethereal cloud floating, cute, the angels singing, we're laid back. Why?
Yeah.
No. It's supposed to be joy and peace. And floating on clouds, not joy and peace to me. So there's going to be, that would be war.
Right.
So it's going to be so unbelievable. But to see Jesus, too.
Right.
I don't know where you were going here. I just jumped in.
We'll follow.
You take a hat out here.
We're with you.
So in the hospital room, and the pain is there, and the tears are there, and that person slips from
you. Yeah.
The first thing that happens, Revelation 21, and God will wipe away.
Come on.
If you're crying, God Himself, not an angel would be unbelievably incredible, but God, the one who spoke all this in existence, waiting for you. You go there with a tear, and it says, He said, God, and I will. God speaking through John, I will. That's huge. It's the same one that said, I am, now says, I will. Well, the I am has produced everything we see and know. And now the I will wipe every tear from their eye. That just absolutely sets me on fire. And that's the stuff that we've got to.
Yes.
The Bible says, therefore, comfort one another with these words. The Thessalonians. We read all the other stuff, but we don't comfort one another. And, when he talks about these are not made perfect in Hebrews. He said, these are not made perfect without you. So in Hebrews faith chapter, he's talking about all these. Think about the hall of faith when he goes through there and by faith, Abraham, by faith, Moses, by faith. And he does all of that. Then get over toward those last verses and it'll say, and these are not made perfect without us. So heaven hasn't started in the way that we understand it to be. Right. Because we're still, every time I preach on Abraham, he gets another reward. And so he's not made perfect. He's not finished.
Oh, wow.
Because they're not made perfect till we get through doing the part we're doing. And not made perfect till if you've passed and the Lord doesn't come, and all the people that you've pastored who have then told their friends, and then someone gets saved that because of the something that you've preached, something you've done, the way you live your life, there's still that reward that goes before you, and it's there. So all of this, let's make it tangible. Let's make it real.
Wow.
Let's make it real.
Wow.
That's how he described it, right?
Yes.
I mean, he described it with real things. He didn't say, it's going to be nice. You're going to like it.
I have never heard that phraseology before. I've never heard the concept of that completion, that continuation as the adding to after being there. It's like all of a sudden a deposit in a bank from somewhere.
Yeah.
Boom. Here's another hit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's incredible to think of it that way. It gives right now even more power.
Now, that's one of the reasons why you want to do, to your best ability, you want to do the right things of God, follow the right things of God. Because what you do now, even when you're gone, stays out here on the table of life. And every time somebody goes, I'm thirsty. And, one time our pastor, I know you never met him, but
yeah,
30 years ago, I heard him preach a sermon.
Wow.
As they sat there at their table, and you're waiting for the resurrection.
Wow.
So Bible called it sleeping. So you're in a great sleep, and they're making deposits into your account. And you'll know it when you get there. You'll go, whoa.
That's incredible. I made the mistake. I think it's a mistake that I made. It's a natural mistake to make. But several years ago, I was kind of in this place of going, can I just be validated for what I've done? Is there some can someone just come along and say, you know what, that worked. This is great. But to hear you phrase that the way you just did, that, of course, the ultimate validation in ministry is on the other side.
Absolutely.
It's not here. And when you start wanting it here, then you start finding ways to please yourself. And you create misery for yourself because that's not what we're called to do. We're servants of the King. But flesh wants its reward.
Flesh is very stingy. We're persnickety in the way we handle other people, and we want it.
Yeah.
We want it now. Just fast today. We'll figure out how loud the flesh can be. Yeah.
I mentioned burgers an hour ago. So right now my body's saying,
thinking about them.
We got to get a burger now.
So all the things, I think we forget. We are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience.
Right. Exactly.
Very short.
If we could keep that in our mind, we're going to spend a place where there is no more time. So I can't tell you, we're going to spend years and millions of years. It's beyond that.
Right.
For 70, 80, 90 years. Daddy Don, 93, 4, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
What? That won't even be enough of a fraction to give it a number.
Right. No.
So this is the deal of the century. If you live a century, it's the deal of the century. If you're right with God and you make your heart right and you do what's right and you're following him in this little bitty sliver of what we would call eternity, you get it all.
Everything.
You get it all. Why wouldn't you want to serve the Lord?
There are people who like to talk about Jesus was poor and he had nothing. And the Bible does say he was made poor, but the making poor was his exit from that location.
Oh, yeah.
To the arrival in this location. To compare the two, what we think is wealth and riches here, the streets are paved with it.
Yep.
There.
All right. So heaven, and we won't have enough time on this podcast left. Heaven has physical features because he wanted us to understand what it was. Now, he doesn't put physical features on space. So we've got the Hubble out there who can now see close to 1 million light years in our past because there's an explosion, right? It's all going away. We're in an ever expanding universe. And the Hubble can see. Hubble's not facing Earth. Hubble's facing away. And it can see that. And it can't find the end of it. It keeps finding new galaxies. Keeps finding black holes. It keeps finding places that and all of that, every bit of that, it's all out in front of us. But he wanted to make sure, since they can't measure that. Let me tell you about heaven. He said it's 1,500 miles.
Yeah.
By 1,500 miles, by 1,500 miles. So it's 1,500 miles cubed.
Right.
It has 12 stories.
Yes.
For the 12 tribes of Israel. Each, it has 12 gates. The gates are made, just entered puberty right then. I could, right there, y'all. It just popped in right there.
Thinking about that regeneration.
Yeah, when I realized how long eternity's going to be here. Oh, I got to get over there. The gates of pearl. Okay, what? You got me started here.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. We got plenty of time.
Pearl is what an oyster does with trouble.
Come on.
So the oyster has a little grain of sand that gets inside that shell, and it's an irritant.
So grit can be a great thing, huh?
Grit is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Grit's a wonderful thing. Not in your eggs. But
Right.
But with grits, that's okay, but not grit. But it gets inside that oyster shell, and he begins to spin this substance around it, and it insulates him from the pain.
Yeah.
He pushes it over, and he puts this. And later, when we crack that oyster open, we don't know, a pearl. And when we see a pearl like that, we go, whoa, and I don't know what it's worth.
Right.
Heaven has gates made out of one pearl. What an oyster.
What an oyster.
One.
Yeah.
If oysters make pearls from pain, isn't it just apropos that God said, you know what? Let me put a symbol of pain.
Oh, wow. That's a great way.
As the gateway, so that you'll know when you step in, sayonara.
Yeah,
there is no more pain.
Oh,
I just stepped through a gate made out of all this. So when you consider how, I mean, we can talk about it on another podcast, but there's so much about the physicality of what it will be.
Yeah.
And then, even right now with the 40 billion people that have lived on the earth, some mathematician, I read some of his stuff, it's been a while back, but talked about how much space each person would have if it ended right now. And it's still like a lot. I mean, to try to put this.
If every person.
Yeah, if everyone would.
I can remember back in the day when we were still on staff in Louisiana, and your mom had written this incredible Bible study. I can't even remember the name of it, but it talked about the breakdown of heaven in that sense. And even to the point of how much space a typical person would have. Right. And we came from an era when we were being taught that it's going to be such a limited amount of people that are going to get there. Yeah. But whenever the research was done and study revealed that God has more than enough room for whoever wants to be there.
That's why I said whosoever will.
Exactly, whosoever will. But like you said, making it tangible and physical for people to grasp that. We were like, you don't get this. He's already made more than enough room for you and you and you and anybody else who decides.
It's hard to put this into words. But I want to shut this down because I want us to have another whole episode just about heaven. So we're going to get to that in a second. Okay. Yeah. So let's do that. So, but before we do, you mentioned the galaxies and how it's looking back. What a beautiful thought. As of right now, from what I understand, I believe our galaxy is traveling through space at 49,000 miles an hour.
Okay.
Just the sun, we're spinning like this, going through space to where?
It's probably going to be faster than that. That may be the rotation of the Earth.
Okay, I think that's maybe so.
Because we, like the sun, the sunlight that we feel when we walk outside left the sun 8 minutes ago. So in 8 minutes, it traveled 93 million miles. That's hard to fathom. Because it's going 186,000 miles per second.
Right.
And so the sun you feel is actually historical sun. It's not even a right now sun.
No.
Everything we have is something that came from something dated so much.
You know what? We're so glad to have you on our Central Podcast today. Stay tuned for the next one. You don't want to miss part 3 here, hanging out with Pastor Brett Jones at Central Triad Church, where we transform lives, produce disciples, and impact the world.
Transform lives, produce disciples, and impact the world.
That's it. We love you guys. Talk to you soon.